taking flight. Card Spring Training, sponsored by Woods Basement Systems.
Department of the things that coincidence on the schedule. The group that Thompson is racing today. Can you elaborate on your smile and your nod there?
I think it'll be a good group for them. Yeah. I mean, when you look at all of these, there's a purpose behind the majority of these, actually, not all of them. It's hard to do all of them, but yeah, I think it's a good group for Thompson in communication with him, and he's worked hard, and it's going to be important for this spring for it to show well and have consistency. But again, you can't place too much into these early live BPs, right? It's a look, but it's not the full story.
What do you tell? I mean, like you said, live BP. When the results are what they are, do you get more from the metrics, from how they improve over time? I mean, what is that? Sort of where the look is right now?
Yeah, I mean, the hitters will tell you.
Okay.
Right. Not only with the result of their at bats, but their feedback of how they're seeing it out of the hand. If anything's coming out that's not favorable to the pitcher, so that feedback is always important. But the underlying metrics of what their pitchers are doing, the shape of it, is it in line with where we need it to be this early on in camp, and then is there a progression to it, his next live, then his first inning in the game, and that type of thing. So yes, it's always exciting to see that first one, but you gotta also see it over the course of spring.
What have you put your finger on of him oscillating so much between velocity?
Man, that's been the topic of conversation, and there hasn't really been a great answer for it, and that's why this spring's going to be very important for him. There is a big difference in just the variability in that fastball speed. We've seen him be really good, and we've seen that kind of be in the 90 to 91 range. We've also seen it as high as 99, right? So you definitely don't want that gap pitch to pitch, and that's what we're trying to figure out for him. And he's put a lot of thought into it, and hopefully we see a better version of that. Yeah.
You said things like bullpen performance, one-run games, those are kind of random. From year to year, they'll flip-flop or whatever. How did you evaluate the runners in scoring position thing last year, and what makes you think that it'll be better this year?
It's a real point of emphasis. We need to be better. We need to score more runs. I think Nolan said it. I mean, several guys have said it. We need to actually score more runs. We took some really good steps in the right direction on the pitching side last year. Our bullpen was really good. Some of our starters made progress, but on the offensive side, it was a little bit of the downfall of our season, right? So the conversations with Brownie and Packy and BA, and then our group of players, it's been productive up to this point, but that will be a point of emphasis of understanding, like, we have to find different ways to win. We can't just count on one way of winning, and that's really approach driven. So it's something we're constantly talking about.
Do you coach differently with runners in scoring position, or
I think
Brownie have any different emphases?
Yeah, he does, which I think is the perfect message for the group of players that we currently have. And he has a really good idea of how to message that and reach the player, whether you've been in the league for 10 years or this is your first year in the league. Like, he has a simple plan for what that looks like. And there's different situations. We always talk about just driving in that runner from, nobody out, nobody on. What does that look like? Runner on first, 2 outs, what does that look like? The importance of contact with a runner on second and 2 outs, right? Like, ball and play there is more important. So being able to talk through those situations and place emphasis where it's needed is part of our strategy that started months ago.
Now that you have your full squad here, what has been the early reception with Grant Brown and the players?
Incredible. It really has. I'm not just saying that. I mean, he cares. He's an absolute maniac when it comes to his preparation, and I mean that in a positive way. He really cares about the player going into a game knowing exactly what they're about to experience and having the tools in order to execute. But the way he communicates with our players, he speaks different languages in the sense of, like, if it's a feel guy, he can talk through that with them. If it's a highly mechanical type of a player, like, he can go through the biomechanics of the swing. If it's a guy that strictly wants to talk approach, like, he has a really good sense of how to communicate that. So the feedback so far has been incredible. And he's got some energy and doesn't tolerate just mediocre preparation or mediocre mindset. You're not going to go into that cage and just kind of feel your way through it and not really be committed to, I'm showing up with a purpose and here's what I'm doing today. If you walk into that cage early and you're just taking swings to get loose, you're not in there very long. Yeah.
Gorman called him a CrossFit guy. He's like one of those CrossFit guys who's on every day.
Yeah, he's crazy in the most loving way I can say that, yeah.
Last year, especially early, y'all were really intentional about building in days for Mason to make sure he was going to be able to hold up over the course of the season, deal with all that stuff. How important is that this year? I know last year he was dealing with something, and you had a veteran here. Does that look different this year?
Yeah, last year, I mean, we were protecting something that didn't feel real good at the moment, and we were trying to make sure it didn't get worse, right? He's come in and he's feeling really good about his body. So it'll look different, and if anything pops up, we'll adjust. But as we stand today, like, no, it's not the same as last year.
So I guess does that take some of the necessity out of having guys around who can start at short 3, 4, 5 times a month, whatever that looks like, just in terms of flexibility for you all having guys who can handle that spot?
Last year going into, I mean, he showed a small stretch of time in the big leagues and then came into his spring training where it was going to be his job, right? And we needed real protection there, to your point, with Craw. You always need protection because anything can happen. But as far as his body feeling good and him being ready to play a whole season, I think we're in a really good spot.
And you're maybe more flexible in terms of, like, it's less necessary to have a guy committed to a spot who you know can be that because you know that Mason has shown proof of concept over the year that he's had. Is that fair?
Yes, because it's the same question 3 times. Yes.
Matt Koperniak is a guy who comes off a strong year, Memphis last year. What have you been able to learn about his offensive profile? Like, how would you describe what he offers at the plate?
It's always interesting when other guys describe him because no matter who you talk to, I mean, that have played with him, they're like, this dude can hit. Like, he just finds a way to make contact. He has a really good approach. He knows what he's trying to do in the box. With us as a staff, he's super quiet. Like, you're not going to, someone said he's going to say hello, and at the end of the year, he's going to say goodbye, right? Which, up to this point, has been spot on. But he gets the job done. So I'm excited to kind of see him out there and kind of evaluate a little bit closer. But as far as the hit tool, it's there. Yeah.
He's a guy who's kind of hit at every level he's played at through the minors.
Yeah.
And I think it could be fair to say he's kind of flown under the radar. I mean, what does that kind of tell you about a guy who just kind of sticks to the process?
I don't know if, I guess that's fair, flown under the radar. For us, it's just a matter of opportunity, right? And you look at the outfield last year, and I mean, you had different guys you're trying to give opportunity to, and you go into it this year. So we're well aware of what his skill set is and what he brings to the table. It's a matter of how do you get him at bats. Yeah.
What have you?
Oh, go ahead, please. Ollie, what did you take away from your look at Tacoma Roby yesterday in Lions?
It was fun to watch. I mean, a young dude that's running it up there pretty good and has some secondary stuff for you as well, right? The fastball, throws that runner and then throws the fastball with 20, 21 inches of vertical break. I mean, just missing bats up top. Could spin it with that breaking ball. Got some swing and miss with that as well. But overall, it was pretty impressive. Yeah.
As you've got to know Eric Fetty at the end of last year,
Sure.
And now what can you share that impresses you, stands out about Fetty?
I like his personality because he looks like a guy that he cares way more than you think, is the way I would put it. Like, this is a guy that's dissecting a lot of what he's about and how to improve. But he has a pretty chill personality that doesn't look like there's high levels of intensity there, but there is. I mean, you talk to him in the middle of the game, and this is a guy that wants the ball, never wants to come out, and is constantly looking to improve. Gave an example to the guys recently, like, this is a guy that bet on himself, man, and I have a ton of respect for that. You go overseas, you bet on yourself, and you come back and you're one of the most sought-after arms at the trade deadline. Like, credit to him. So there's a decent amount of fight in there, even though on the surface he looks calm. Yeah.
Cool. On Roby, is that a guy that, because kind of the way his last 2 years have gone from a health standpoint, you as a staff are pretty eager to get a chance to look at what this could look like for him this spring?
Eager, but also cautious of making sure we ramp them up properly in order to stay healthy. But yeah, I would describe it as eager.
Ollie, how would you say Siani and Vic kind of make each other better as, they're competing for playing time?
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's something they can each take from each other.
Yeah, competition is a beautiful thing, and it breeds excellence. You want to have good people around you that push you to understand what your limits are, and both of those guys do exactly that. You have two really good defenders that are both working extremely hard to improve the offensive side of their game, but they're elite, and I enjoy that competition. They enjoy that competition. Yeah.
What kind of schedule is Sonny on? Basically, English from first time of the day. Would it? And obviously, some of the guys are starting this weekend that you expect to be in the rotation.
Yeah.
Is he sort of on the tail end?
On the tail end of
that group.
Initial group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. He obviously had the injury last year that was a fluke. But
No, more so in how we schedule it out, knowing where guys are this off season and coming into spring, but nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah.
The design with Sonny that he's calendared that he lines up with opening day.
What was that?
Is the design with Sonny calendared in such a way that he lines up with opening day?
Yes. Do you have another win question or no?
Like several, but yeah.